Okay, so I've always get a lot of questions about how I do my dialysis, why I have to do dialysis, sometimes how I feel about having to do dialysis. And it is hard to come up with your answers, some of them, when you're just face to face with somebody. A lot of local people that I know ask me all the time, and I know there's a lot of people in the world that don't know a lot about dialysis in general, especially home dialysis. So I'm actually getting ready to do my treatment. I have to do labs today, so you'll get to see that part if you watch this. I will say that if you're weird about blood or needles, you may not want to watch it. It's not bad at all. It's just, you'll see the needles go in my arm, and then you'll see the blood go through the tubes. As long as I don't miss or something and blood squirt out of my arm. But that should not happen. So, I have my stuff together and my machine is ready. So this is my supplies. This is my needles. And this is what I'll rinse with at the end. This is for my labs. This is my heparin, which will go in these when I get it in. These are to check placement. I'll pull blood up and down through them. My gloves and these gauze pads, of course. This is my lab spinner for me to do my labs. And this is my sharps container that my needles and all my used stuff goes in. And so then over here is my machine. And when you look at this machine, I mean, these settings are going to be, you're not going to have a clue what that is. But there's a cartridge here that all of this and all this tubing and stuff comes on. This here, this is the artificial kidney. These are kind of like little hairs almost, and there's like millions of them in there. And your blood goes into those. And right down here, I don't know if I can pull this out or not. Yeah. This is, see this like fluid? There's like fluid in that. That's called your batch or your bath or your rinse. People call it different things. That will come up and it'll go in this canister. And the toxins and poisons that's in the blood will seep through these hairs into that, and then it rinses back out into this yellow line. This is your drain line, and actually goes down the drain just like if you go to the bathroom. But that never actually touches your blood. It just seeps the toxins out of your blood through these hairs. This is my iPad that I record everything on, and at the end of treatment a full report goes to my home dialysis nurse. You work very closely with your home dialysis nurse when you're on dialysis. So that's about it. I'm gonna get myself ready here and get my needles placed. Okay, so I have everything ready. I'm gonna put my needles in now and do my labs. I've got my glove on this hand. I won't on this hand because I can't touch my arm to use it. So, first of all, I guess we gotta clean it. Clean it with an alcohol pad on both places that you'll be sticking. You have 2 needles. One for the blood to go in and out. After you get it good and clean, you do want it to dry. It will burn if you don't let it dry. Okay, so see, this is my needle, and it's got the tube here on it that it's got the cap there. It'll take that cap off, and my tubes from my machine will hook to this. Okay, so if you can see this, it is a very large needle. It's wanting to blur. It's not getting a good picture of it. It's a 15 gauge needle. I don't know if you can tell much about it or not. It's very large. So I actually do my needles bevel down. It allows for better blood flow for me. Some people do it bevel up. It just depends. So I'm going to feel, I've got a cow artery in here. It's a graft. There's two different kinds of graft. There's a synthetic and then there's the cow artery. The cow artery is supposed to be a little more natural and more like a fistula. I had a fistula, but my arteries wasn't big enough, so it failed. And we put in the cow artery. So I'm going to stick my needle in. I'll be watching for a flash of blood, which is right there. Once I get the flash, I'm just going to ease it on up through there. So there's that one. You can see the blood flashing right there. I'm going to put a piece of tape on it for now. I'll do more in a little bit after I check placement of it. And my next one. Same kind of needle. This one's called the Venus that I already put in. Or no. I'm sorry. This one's the arterial. I was thinking about I was getting ready to do the Venus. This one is the Venus. The arterial is the one that the blood comes out of. And the Venus is the one that the blood goes into. Back into your body. So I'm feeling for placement again. I don't want to miss it. This one up here for me is easier to miss than the bottom one. Takes a lot of pressure to get it through the skin. There it is. Ease it on in. Okay, put me a piece of tape on. Now I'm going to check placement of both of them. So to do that, I'm going to just barely untwist my cap and let the blood flow down to the tip. My blood's all in there now. Clamped my little clamp. Take the cap off. I throw that away. I'm going to put my tube, an empty syringe on here. I'm going to draw the blood up. It comes up fine. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to draw it up and push it down, and I'm going to do this 3 or 4 times, whatever you get comfortable with. You want to do this because of the flow that your blood flows when the machine actually starts. It hurts very, very bad if you have a blowout. I'm going to do the same thing. Loosen the cap to let the blood come down. Stop it at the tip. Clamp my clamp. Throw the cap away. Check for placement. Pull it up. Send it in. If you have any signs at all of pain when you push it back in, that means you've got bad placement. You need to fix it, correct it, put a new needle in, something. Do not run your machine if you feel pain when you push that blood in. Now, before I give my heparin, it's a little different today because I have to do labs. So I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to put my lab tube on here. I'm going to open my clamp. And I'm going to do my purple. And these, they won't feel anymore once they have what they're supposed to have in them. They're pre-made to be that way. The purple one doesn't hold very much at all. And then my small tiger top. I have different ones at the first of the month. Tiger top's not wanting to work. There it goes. I have different ones at the beginning of the month than I have in the middle of the month, but we do this twice a month. Okay, and once you get your labs, gently, this is called inverting them, invert them back and forth a few times. Now the purple one will be ready to go in the refrigerator until I send them out. The tiger top, in 30 minutes to an hour, I have to put this in my spinner. But I let it set for 30 minutes to an hour before I put it in there. And this gel that's in the bottom will actually separate the blood cells and the plasma, and it looks really cool. I'll show you whenever I do it. So I'm going to clamp this back off. I'm going to take this off and put that in my sharps container. And let's see, let me put my syringe back on. Now I'm going to give myself my heparin in this one. Don't give your heparin until after your labs, if you have labs. So to do my heparin, I get 5,000 units right now. Some people have more, some less, but you draw blood up in it before you shoot it in, and then you work it a few times. Do it, 4 or 5 times to get that heparin kind of circulating in your blood. And when you do push it all back in, and this is in the other tubes as well, the other syringes as well for placement, make sure you don't insert any air bubbles. That is in the top. If you keep your syringe upright, all the air rises to the top. So as you push it down, you're going to be able to keep from pushing air in. Okay, so I've got that all done. Now I need to finish taping. These are for butterfly wings, I guess you could call them. And it just helps hold it on there. When the machine starts, it is very important that you have it held on good, because it's powerful and it really pulls and pumps the blood at a high rate of speed, and it will work your needles out. So, and if that happens, you'll lose a lot of blood. So put your butterfly wings on, and then you're going to use one gauze pad and fold it into a little square. A piece of tape, and it goes over the needle. You don't want the needle to be exposed, so you just put it over the needle, and you do that for both of them. Okay. Now I'm ready to connect my tubes. They're on a little thing called a peanut. These are clamped. So I'm going to do my red first, which is the arterial. That's the one that the blood pumps out of your body. You screw it on there, and you open both of these. Same thing for the blue. I'm going to show you here. You can actually see how it pulses. If you watch this, let me see if I can get it good here. You can actually watch it pulsing down through here. The way it moves, it's like a pulse. So, these kind of look like scissors. They're not. They're a clamp. You put your tubes there, and you clamp it somewhere onto your clothing or somewhere, and this keeps these from being able to pull out of your arm if you move the wrong way or something like that. Okay, so I'm actually ready to hit start on my treatment. That's very simple. You just hit this kidney, and it's actually going to start my treatment. You can watch, if you watch these, you'll watch the blood go in here. You'll see it start filling this container over here, the canister over there. Here in just a minute, you'll see it up in that. See how it's turning red? Okay, so on this iPad, I'm going to look at my pressures. There's pressure limits you kind of have to go by, but let me do this. That arterial pressure is allowed to go up to 200, or arterial pressure is allowed to go to negative 240, and the venous pressure is allowed to go to, hold on, I'm not connected, I gotta fix something. The venous pressure is allowed to go to 300. There's actually a special router that you connect to for the machine, and this keeps, when it goes inactive for a little bit and I'm not on treatment, it goes back and connects to my home router. So I just had to go in the settings of the iPad and change it to the router that's for this machine, and that links that machine to my iPad. So it should start to connect here, and then I will show you the pressures. Here we go. Okay, so that arterial pressure is allowed to go to negative 240, and that venous pressure is allowed to go to 300. So this bottom one right here that says 250, I have to get that to 450 without these pressures getting out of control. So I'm going to start to up it. And watch my pressures for just a minute. And if they stay good, then I'm going to up it again. See, right now that arterial is negative 154, which is great. And the venous is 217, which is great. I should get my full 450. I'm going to go ahead and up it again. Now that is the 450 flow. That's the flow rate. That's the rate that my blood is going through this machine. And my pressures are hanging around. Arterial's negative 220s. Venous is running 280-ish. As the treatment goes on, the artery actually gets more elastic and kind of gives a little and whatever. And your pressures start to go down a little. So, you know, even if they do start close to your borderline, they're not going to get higher, they're going to go lower if they change. So that's good. So I've got a good flow rate going on, and that is it. That is it for now. I will sit here and run my full time. I run about 3 hours, right at 3 hours, and I do this 5 days a week. So it does become just your normal routine, just like, you know, you get up and use the bathroom, you get ready, and you have to eat. Well, I do this 5 days a week. It's not terrible. There are days, especially where I'm young and I want to be out and, you know, doing stuff, and I have 2 little kids, and so there's days that you're like, geez, this is stupid. Why do I have to do this? But then you remember that if it wasn't for this machine, you wouldn't be here, and you kind of have to love it. It's just a lifestyle that you have to get used to, and it's still better than going to the clinic. I know that clinic is only 3 days a week. I was miserable when I was going to clinic. I absolutely hated it. The treatments are harder and they made me feel worse. And this way I can be in my home and with my kids and my husband and do the treatment whatever time of day is best for me, not just whenever they have an opening that they can fit me in at the clinic. So I like having the freedom to be more control over my timing that I do it and how I do it. And even over the summer, we go out to a pay lake a lot, and I sat in the bait house at the pay lake doing my dialysis treatment. I've not let it stop me or limit me on what, I can do. I've got 2 kids that are 7 and 9, and they're into dance and sports, and my son does football and baseball, and trying to talk him into doing basketball. Don't know if that's going to work, but and my daughter, she had done ballet, but she's going to take this semester off because she wants to do the school dance team. And it's busy. It's very busy having 2 kids into all that they do. And I don't want to miss that. And when I was doing clinic dialysis, my kids was having to stay at my mom's 3 nights a week, and for them to take them to school that next morning, because I had to be at dialysis at 6:30, which is before I even get them up for school. And I would have to be there almost 5 hours. So, I mean, it was terrible. It was awful. And now, I can take my kids to school. I can come home and I can do my treatment, and it's over before I ever get them from school. And then of an evening when we've got sports and stuff, I've got everything done. I'm already done with it. And I can do it around their schedule. And if me and my husband want to do something, I can do it around whatever we're wanting to do. I can do my treatment any time of day, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening, or 4 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter, as long as I do my treatment that day. So, it's not as bad as people think at all. It does get tiresome doing it 5 days a week. That is the only part that will get to you. And at times it's going to get to anybody. You get tired of it. You get very tired of it, especially when you are young and you have kids and you've got so much going on, and you just don't want to sit here for 3 hours. But I do things to keep my mind off of it and make my time go by faster. A lot of times I'm here alone and I sit here and I bring YouTube up on my TV and I sing karaoke the whole time, and it's fun. So even though I have to be sitting here and sitting still, I can still have fun on treatment. And like I explained over the summer, if we was out at the Pay Lake and didn't want to come home, I would take my machine out there and I'd do the treatment right there in the bait house. As long as you're clean about it and make sure that everything is clean and the things around you, that you're going to touch are clean, you can take it anywhere. So home dialysis is definitely the way to go if you have to be on dialysis. It may seem like a lot when you first see it, but as you do it every single day, it becomes as normal as fixing a meal or fixing your hair. I mean, you just know exactly what to do when you do it every day. And as long as you have a good home dialysis nurse that you can get a hold of if you need anything, or make sure that you have the things that you need, it is great. They furnish everything. It's shipped right to your door. The people will bring it inside. I go through and go crazy organizing mine because I want everything in a certain spot, and I want to where I can just grab it when I go to get my stuff out. I just do better if it's more organized. And I guess I'm rambling, but I don't really know what else to talk about until I'm going to show you when I have to spin those labs, but I have to wait for about 30 minutes before I spin those. So I guess that's all for now, and I'll be back to show you how to do those labs. Okay, so it's time to spin my Tiger Top lab. To do this, I've got one of these that is pre-done with just water in it, and then this is the ones of my blood that I drew today. This is why, let me show you why you leave it sitting out. You can see this, that blood is already kind of clotted in there. It's starting to kind of separate itself a little. There's a lot of the blood cells already hardened up and clotted in there. So in my spinner, you see I've got these two blue inserts. You have to have the water, the one with the water is to kind of balance out the spinner. So you put one in each side directly across from each other. Bring this down and you close the door. And up here you just hit the play button. And it's going to start spinning and spinning in there. That thing will go for about 15 minutes. It'll kick off whenever it's done. In the meantime, it's time for me to do a blood pressure and record it in my iPad. I do those every 30 minutes throughout the treatment. This reminder will pop up there and tell me to do it. So I'm going to do my blood pressure. I will get back on here and show you how the labs turn out. Okay, so my labs are done. They have got done spinning. So I will show you now what they look like. You get it out of the spinner. It's pretty cool. So that gel that was in there is now in the center. It was in the bottom. And the blood cells are in the bottom, and the plasma is in the top. And they test this in 2 different ways. And by tomorrow or the next day, I'll send these out today. At the latest, I guess, Wednesday, I will actually get the report of these, of what the results are, on an app that's on my phone. I can see them before my nurse or doctors even see them. So that is that. I've got boxes, which are right up there on the top, and I have ice packs in the freezer that I will package that up, and it goes out by FedEx to a place, a lab company in New Jersey. Anyway, I will get those results tomorrow or Wednesday on an app that's on my phone, which is pretty cool, because I like knowing as fast as I can what my results are. Again, another step that it gives you to freedom of your health, I guess. You really get to be in the loop of things and what's going on and have control over it. So it's good. I've got an hour and 17 minutes left. So I'm gonna relax and we will go over the end of treatment when it's time. Okay, so I'm at the end of my treatment. We're gonna go over how the end of treatment goes. I have to get all my blood back to me from the tubing in the machine. So what we're gonna do, I have to stop the machine. Now, the one that pumps out my blood, remember, is the red, the arterial. So we're going to connect it. Just a second. Okay, first of all, okay, I've got them both clamped. I'm going to take it off. This is saline from my bag of saline hanging up here. Remember to hold it upright so the air comes to the top. Open. And this is going to clean my bloodline out to give that blood back to me. Clamp it. Put that in my sharps. And put my lid on here. Now, let me hook this up and then I'll show you where I'm putting it. Okay, so you got to remember the red is the one that takes the blood out of my body. The blue is the one that gives it back. So I'm going to put the red back on the red clip on my saline bag. I'm going to open these up. I'm going to hit the faucet. And this thing is going to count down. It's going to give me 277 units out of this saline bag. It's 277. It's going to give me... it's going to get me down to right above that 9. So what that's doing is instead of pumping blood out of my arm, it's pumping saline out of this bag. And it knows that 277 is how much it takes for it to rinse all of my blood out of this and get back to here for it to go in my body. So it's just going to clean those lines and that canister and stuff out. While it's doing that, I actually usually go ahead and disconnect some of the stuff that we don't have to have anymore, just to make it a little quicker at the end. Let me pop this back up here. So I'm going to do this while it's going. Because your drain line is done. You don't need it right now. And the dialysate or batch, rinse, bath, whatever you want to call it, it's done. So we can disconnect all of that. And it just, you don't have to do that. You can do it all at the end when you're done. I just like doing that because it saves me a few steps at the end. So it's almost done, and at this point I'm going to clamp my blue line so that my blood doesn't run back out and I keep as much of it as possible. And I'm going to put my blue back over here on my cartridge or saline bag, however you want to say it. It's all connected to the cartridge. And at this point, you can actually turn your machine off. I turned mine around a little bit, and it's right back here on the back side. There's just a little toggle switch back there. And I'm done with the machine. You just open this up. I'm not going to pull this yet, but you pop it out of 3 little places, and that just comes right out of there. So, see, that just all comes out of there. And that's all with the machine. So, now, before I pull my needles, I have got to get my temperature and my blood pressure, answer some questions on my iPad, and at the end, I'll go get my weight again, because you get your weight before and after. So I'll do all that. And we have to stop the batch in the bottom and remake a new batch. I won't have time to do that today because I have to go to my son's football practice, but I will make my batch when I get home, and maybe on another video I'll show you how to do that. It's easy. So I've got to get my blood pressures and stuff, and I will be back to show you how to pull the needles. Okay, well, I got that done, and I went ahead and got my weight and things so I could finalize it on my iPad. Now I just have to pull my needles. So, get my glove on. Take that off. I'm done with that now. That's the best thing in the world, is to get you a wrist cuff, because you can just wear it the whole time where you have to do your pressures every 30 minutes. You don't have to worry about getting the thing on your arm and all this. You just wear this the whole time. It's the greatest thing ever. So, anyway, I'm going to get my glove on. And I've already got my tape pulled. It takes roughly 5 to 7 pieces to tape this like you have to. And this part, you have to remember to never let up on holding pressure. Hold it long enough before you tape it. When I have someone here to help me, we do both at one time, and I'll hold pressure with 2 fingers on each one. You don't want to cup your hand. You want to use 1 finger so that you're covering the hole. If you use your whole hand, it'll just bleed through and go everywhere. So, okay, so I'm going to get my tape off and show you how this works. I will probably pause it in between needles because I have to hold it for each one. I have to hold for about 5 minutes before I can actually finish taping it. But because if you don't, I mean, the blood will literally shoot the ceiling. It's so bad. Where it's used to flowing so fast for that long, that's what it wants to do. And these are huge needles, so it leaves a really big hole in it. When it shoots, I mean, it shoots. It's really bad. So, you just, if you're not comfortable with it, make sure you have someone. I just am comfortable with it now. It doesn't bother me. I know how to do it. So, the worst part of all of this is taking the tape on and putting the tape on and taking it off. It's terrible. So, okay. So I've got all the tape off my top one. I left one piece to hold the bottom one on until I'm ready to take it off. Now on this one, you're going to get 2 gauze pads and fold them into a square. You want it good and thick so that it leaves enough pressure on here when you tape it. So, what I do is I get the end of the tube I'm pulling in this hand, my left hand. And you'll see why. I put this right here over the needle. And I'll pull it right out of there. See, it's going to drip some blood. That's normal. I use this hand to, if you can see this, close this down. Now the needle's covered and I can just lay it to the side until I'm done, and then I'll put it in my sharps container. I don't know if you can see or not, I got a little bit of blood on my tape. It leaks out of the needle when you pull it out. So I've got to hold this for 5 minutes and I will be back. Okay, so I've held it for 5 minutes. If you just barely ease it up like that, you can see that. If you can take that off and it's not bleeding, you can tape it. So this is going to look a little funny, but I don't, and I'm not doing this to hold pressure. I'm just doing this so that my gauze doesn't come unfolded. I want my square to stay there. So I'm actually going to hold it like this and bring my tape up here. Well, it came off anyway. That's okay though. You can see though it was not bleeding. If it had still been bleeding, it would have shot everywhere. So you want to get your tape on as tight as you possibly can. Now this first strip is not going to be super tight, just because you've got to try to get that gauze held down there. But you're going to put more. So when you put more, you want to start on one side and kind of pull it over to get it as tight as you can. And the final piece that you put on is what really holds your pressure. So there's those. Now on this last one, you make a really long one if you're taping it by yourself. Now it's easier for other people to do it for you, but you make one that's really long, that's going to reach on the outside of where you put your other tape, and you're going to pull it tight like this. That is going to make sure that holds pressure. I mean, you can probably see how super tight that is. It actually pulled my other tape and everything together. That's really tight. So now I'm going to pull my next one. Fold this up. Get this in my hand. And pull it. Let this fall. You see, one finger. And I'm clipping that. So now the needle is inside the casing. And I can set it to the side until I'm done holding pressure here. So I will hold this one for 5 minutes as well. This one sometimes can take longer, because this is the one that your blood was gushing out of. And so that's what it wants to do. It wants to gush out. So you have to wait for it to clot good enough. And sometimes it can take longer than 5 minutes, but usually around 5 minutes. And then I will tape this up and I'll be done for today. So I'll probably end my video here today. I will make another if this one has a lot of views or people want to see more. I don't mind at all. I have nothing else to do for 3 hours. So if you have any questions, you can comment or message. And if you're thinking of home dialysis, I would highly recommend it. If you're on clinic dialysis, it might be something to think about if you are able to do it or have someone in your home that's able to help you, because it is really, really great. So I hope everyone has a good day and hope you enjoyed the video.